Something has been feeling slightly off in one of your friendships lately, Virgo, and you may not be able to name exactly why. Maybe it is a tone that shifted mid-conversation. Maybe it is a money situation nobody quite explained. Today's sky points directly at that unease, and it is not your imagination. There is a planetary tension building between your circle of friends and the resources you share with others, and it is asking you to look closer before you assume the worst. But here is what changes everything by the end of today. The same sky that creates the confusion also hands you the tool to clear it up completely, and that part comes later, the bigger picture. Right now, Mars is moving through Cancer and activating your 11th house, the part of your chart tied to friends, community, and future plans. At the same time, Mars is forming a square to Neptune, which sits in your 8th house of shared resources, secrets, and emotional entanglement. In plain terms, that is the astrology behind a fundraiser that feels unclear, a reimbursement nobody has confirmed, or a group commitment where the numbers were never quite spelled out. Mars wants action. Neptune wants to blur the lines. When they clash, group dynamics get harder to read, and friendliness can start to feel like something more intimate than it actually is, or vice versa. From the Western psychological perspective, this square is also a mirror. It shows you where you tend to trust a feeling over a fact, especially inside your social circle. Meanwhile, something bigger has been unfolding in your career and academic life, and it deserves a mention here because it changes how you should read the pressure you are under. Uranus has moved into Gemini, activating your career, studies, or an unpaid role you have taken on, after spending time in Taurus stirring things up through foreign connections or travel. Uranus rarely announces itself politely. It tends to arrive like an unexpected storm, and many people with this placement report a sudden opportunity or disruption landing in their lap when they least expect it. Hold on to that, because it resurfaces later. In Vedic tradition, today's moon is moving into Libra, and Libra rules balance, partnership, and the body's need for equilibrium. Astrologers note that this lunar shift often calls for a check-in on your physical well-being, sometimes flagging small health matters that come with an unplanned expense attached. While the Western lens sees today's tension as a social and financial puzzle to solve, the Vedic lens sees it as a nudge toward physical balance and careful budgeting. Both are describing the same underlying need for clarity, just through different doors. And later in the day, Mercury forms a supportive trine to Saturn, which is where the real relief shows up. That aspect favors direct questions and honest answers. So whatever feels murky right now has a real chance of resolving cleanly, not through guesswork, but through an actual conversation. Love. If you are in a relationship, this Mars-Neptune square can quietly seep into how you interpret your partner's mood today. You might sense distance where there is not any, or read a delay in a text reply as something bigger than it is. The unanswered question sitting underneath this is simple. Does the silence mean something is wrong, or does it just mean the day got busy? Neptune's fog makes it tempting to fill in the blanks with worst-case stories. Resist that pull for now. If you are single, the same energy can show up as confusion about someone's signals. Perhaps a friend has been acting warmer than usual, and you are left wondering if it is affection or just comfort. You may notice yourself replaying a conversation, searching for hidden meaning in a tone that was probably just tired, not distant. That is Mars square Neptune at work, turning ordinary ambiguity into an emotional puzzle. The good news arrives with that Mercury trine Saturn later on. It supports calm, grounded conversation, the kind where you can simply ask what is really going on instead of guessing. Commitment-minded Virgos may find that a little extra reassurance goes a long way today, not because anything is broken, but because clear words settle a mind that has been overthinking. Keep communication real, and let the other person answer for themselves instead of writing their script for them in your head. Career. That same restless energy touching your relationships is also active in your professional world, and this is where Uranus and Gemini becomes especially relevant. Since this transit entered your career or study sector, many Virgos have described feeling caught off guard by sudden shifts, a new project appearing out of nowhere, an unexpected offer, or a role changing shape without warning. If something like that lands on your desk today, it may feel disruptive at first glance, but Uranus transits often deliver their gifts wrapped in surprise rather than in comfort. What looks like an inconvenient curveball may actually be the opening this part of your chart has been quietly building toward. There is a connection worth noticing here. The same 11th house that is currently under pressure from Mars and Neptune also governs the communities and networks that often fuel career opportunities. A community project, professional group, or unpaid collaboration might be where financial unclearness and career unpredictability meet today. If a colleague or group member proposes something exciting but light on detail, your instinct to ask practical questions is not overthinking. It is exactly the skill this transit rewards. Money. Financially, today asks for precision rather than assumption. If you are involved in a shared expense, a group fund, or someone owes you money from a joint plan, this is the day to get the terms in writing rather than trusting memory or good intentions. Mars wants you to move on this, but Neptune wants to keep things vague, so the responsibility falls on you to request clarity. Ask directly who is covering what, and do not let an implied agreement stand in for a confirmed one. At the same time, there is a gentler current running underneath all this. A positive financial shift may still be brewing, with more meaningful gains possible if you stay patient rather than forcing a quick outcome. While the group money tension asks for caution, this quieter thread suggests optimism is not misplaced. It just needs time to mature. You may also want to set aside a little extra for a health-related cost, something the Vedic lunar shift into Libra hints at, so it does not catch you unprepared later this week. Health. Here is the detail today's chart most wants you to notice. As the moon settles into Libra, Vedic astrologers suggest this is a good day to address any lingering health issue rather than putting it off, since Libra governs balance in the body and small imbalances tend to surface now if ignored. If something has been nagging at you physically, today favors dealing with it directly instead of hoping it resolves on its own. Some Vedic practitioners associate this kind of lunar transit with wearing calming colors to support balance, and a pale shade of green is often mentioned as generally soothing rather than as a fix for anything specific. This is a safe, low-stakes suggestion rather than a prescription, since any deeper remedy work in Vedic astrology, including gemstone recommendations, genuinely requires a full birth chart analysis and is not something that applies universally to every Virgo reading this. The time between 5 and 7 in the evening is considered favorable today, so if you have a choice about when to rest, schedule an appointment, or simply slow down, that window may work in your favor. Beyond the physical, there is an emotional layer worth naming. You may feel a touch of loneliness today, even in the middle of a full schedule, and that is worth acknowledging rather than pushing away. Rich food and alcohol are easy comforts to reach for when a day feels emotionally foggy, but your energy will likely serve you better with a lighter touch on both. Give yourself permission to rest rather than push through, home and family. The confusion stirring in your friendships deserves one more layer, because it is easy to let suspicion take over when something feels unclear. If you sense that a friendship has gotten tangled with jealousy, secrecy, or money, your instinct to investigate is understandable, but treating the group chat like a crime scene rarely brings peace. The feeling that something is off is not the same as proof, and chasing screenshots or subtext will likely leave you more unsettled, not less. This is where the day's story quietly turns a corner. That earlier Mercury trine Saturn arriving later on is not just useful for romantic clarity, It is exactly the energy that supports a direct, grounded conversation with a friend or family member about what is private, what is shared, and what boundaries actually look like between you. Trust does not need a verdict today. It needs facts, and this transit hands you a legitimate way to get them without drama. Travel and spirit. If a trip has been on your mind, today's chart leans toward patience rather than departure. Travel can wait one more day, and there is wisdom in that pause rather than restriction in it. With so much emotional static already active between Mars and Neptune, adding movement or unfamiliar terrain on top of it may only stretch your energy thinner. Instead, this is a day suited to inward attention. Neptune's fog, difficult as it can be in practical matters, is genuinely useful in spiritual and intuitive ones. Your gut sense about a person or situation carries real weight right now, even if you cannot fully explain it. Picture it like standing at a foggy crossroads, unable to see the road clearly, but still able to feel which direction pulls you forward. That inner pull deserves attention today, even as you keep gathering outer facts before acting on anything major. Lucky signs. A pale shade of green carries a gentle, balancing quality today, worth wearing if you are drawn to it. The hours between 5 and 7 in the evening lean favorable for important conversations, rest, or decisions you have been putting off. Steady, detail-oriented energy suits you best today, more than bold or impulsive moves. Today's guidance. By now, the thread connecting your day should feel clear. The uncertainty you noticed in a friendship or a financial arrangement, the surprise stirring in your career, and the quiet call for physical balance are not separate stories. They are variations of the same lesson, that clarity, not suspicion, is what actually resolves confusion. Ask the direct question instead of guessing at the answer. Write down the terms instead of assuming they are understood. Tend to your body instead of pushing past what it is telling you. What felt like static at the start of today may settle into something far more manageable by evening, especially once that grounded, clarifying energy takes hold. You do not need every answer right now. You just need to ask one honest question in the right place to the right person. That is usually where today's real relief begins.